Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Science and Tech Summer program, sports specifically related. First thing first, my name is Clemente, and big thank you to all our panelists, Luke, Jordan, and Philip. Then first things first, this video is gonna be recorded. All attendees, we won't see you or we won't hear you, so if you have any questions, just drop in the chat box, and we at the end will answer all your questions. About myself, my name is Clemente, and I'm your faculty advisor, your new faculty advisor, so hello. If you have any questions or anything you want to ask me, anything really, it doesn't have to be related to employability or anything, just drop me an email, or you can go to mdxworks.com and book an appointment there. Now we're gonna go to our first presenter, Luke.
Hi, I'm Luke, currently an associate lecturer at Middlesex University in LSI. Most of you hopefully recognise me from teaching you in some aspects, and alongside my lecturing work, I also work as the performance analyst for Saracens Mavericks netball team.
You want to get anything else you want to say about your past experience? Any nice information you want to say?
Yep. So past experience, I wasn't a Middlesex graduate myself. I graduated from another institution, and I've ended up kind of along my journey going in kind of on the academic route and also the performance sport route. I think from my end, I quite like working in sport whilst also lecturing as well. I think that helps me with my teaching, and hopefully that comes across in the lectures that I deliver as well. Kind of my background was mainly as a physiologist, and that is still probably what I would say my strongest area. But most of my roles have been in the performance analysis side of things. So that's where most of my performance sport roles have been. So I guess kind of top tip from me would actually be you might kind of think you're going to specialize in somewhere, but kind of be open to other opportunities. And, you know, at uni when I was studying 10 years ago, performance analysis wasn't really talked about too much as a career option. And actually it's something I quite enjoy doing as alongside my work as a lecturer as well. So that would be kind of my thing, of just kind of be open to any experiences that kind of come your way.
Thank you. Now, Phil.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here. Thank you to Clemente and Claire for inviting me to speak today. So my journey's been quite interesting. Unlike Luke, I did graduate from Middlesex, and I did sport and exercise science from 2013, 2016, and when I graduated. And I had a fantastic time at Middlesex, not only in my degree but also in my sport. I enjoyed all the different disciplines within sports science, but I think biomechanics was kind of the most interesting to me. I did some performance analysis outside of university and work experience, but biomechanics was something that I just found really interesting, and that's what I ended up focusing kind of my dissertation on. But after graduating from Middlesex in 2016, I got a scholarship to go out to America and continue to play football and also gain my master's degree. And I ended up doing that in business administration. So it was an MBA. So obviously very different from my bachelor's degree. But the reasoning for that was the opportunity to play football and study in America was one that I really wanted to take, and the university I went to didn't offer a master's within sports science or kinesiology, as they call it over there. But I really enjoyed studying business administration. I continued playing football. I was also playing for England and Great Britain in the youth team, so the national team, but for deaf players. And that was brilliant. That took me all around the world as well, and I did that alongside when I came back to England playing for Fulham and for Doncaster. And I retired from there in 2018. through a knee injury, which was unfortunate, and it was kind of the end of a lifelong dream of playing football, traveling around the world. And so I kind of had to work out what was next for myself. And I found myself working as a motivational speaker. Kind of two things that I wanted from my work was, one, to do something that I really enjoyed. I think that's important to a lot of people. Makes it easier to get up in the morning and go to work. And the second thing was to do something that would really have an impact in people's lives. And so my motivational speaking journey was very much about sharing my sporting career and kind of my life as a deaf person. I was born deaf, getting my first set of hearing aids, going off to school, and kind of my educational journey and life journey and sporting journey, which was really, really unique. But obviously in March, my motivational speaking career kind of had to be put on hold due to coronavirus. And I started working in project management and transformation within my local county council, so local government. And that's been really interesting, but a completely different field of work that I thought I'd find myself working in when I was studying my sports degree at Middlesex. And along the way, I've been fortunate enough and honoured to be representing a number of charities as their ambassador. And that allows me to do some really unique work in local communities and wider nationwide communities around sport and deaf people, which has also been brilliant. I also sit on the board of one of those charities and able to provide some kind of strategic advice as the charity grows and moves forward. And so I guess from that and my career, the advice and tips I would give for you, to understand what you're studying now will provide you with a lot of different skills. Some of them will be purely a kind of academic and sports focused. You'll learn how to do a number of different things with Luke and your other lecturers in terms of physiology and measuring sporting performance and improving sporting performance. But you'll also learn a lot of skills about self-discipline, about finding solutions to problems, to thinking outside the box. And all of those skills will serve you very, very well in whichever field you find yourself working in after you graduate, whether that be within sports science and elite professional sport, or in something completely different like it was for me. And yeah, I always say, whenever you're asked if you can do something or that you're given an opportunity, say yes, even if you don't know how to do it. There's a famous quote which is, jump off the cliff and figure out how to fly and build your wings on the way down. And it's very, very true. Just say yes and you'll figure it out later on. But saying yes and taking all the opportunities that came my way has allowed me to be very successful. And that'd probably be my biggest advice for you guys today.
Thank you, Phil. Yeah, I can see that you're a motivational speaker quite well. Now we're going to move to Jordan.
Thank you, gents. Good afternoon, all. Thanks again to all the staff at Middlesex for inviting me. It's much appreciated. Great to be here. My name's Jordan McCann. I studied a master's degree at Middlesex University in 2012. Cast my mind back now. I'm getting old. After leaving Loughborough University, where I did my undergraduate degree. Had a great time. I'm currently in post as academy manager at Lincoln City, having spent 10 years as head of coaching and coach development at Luton Town, following a brief playing career in my younger days, which again seems a long time ago. Middlesex was great for me, so hopefully I'm going to go along the right lines here and just try and explain a little bit around what I learned and took from my time whilst at Middlesex. And it was massively around, it's all about the people, not just the content knowledge that I was picking up on my course. So with Anthony Turner and the guys who were delivering the master's degree, just fantastic insight, not only into the real theoretical aspects of elite sport, but also the micro political dynamics, how organisations function, how people can be successful within certain environments and dealing with different people. And that really served me in good stead into what hopefully is a good career. I don't know if I am any good. I'd have to ask my colleagues to get a little bit of feedback, but hopefully some of them would be positive. And a great year. I really enjoyed it, and some great advice there from both Phil and Luke around, doing things you enjoy helps get you out of bed, absolutely, and loving what you do. And hopefully we're all here because we love sport and want to make a difference and be part of that, which is always a great starting point.
Great, thank you very much. So now we're going to move to the Q&A. If you have any questions, just drop it in the text in the chat box, and then we will be able to see them and answer that to you. I just wanted to ask if anyone has a question. At the moment, where you're working, is there any opportunities that you know of, or there will be any opportunities for people to apply for? And if not, what would you recommend to check for any jobs?
Yeah.
Should I start, Jordan? Luke? Cool.
Yeah, go on, Luke.
Okay, I can go first. So in my performance analysis job at Saracens Mavericks Netball, usually every year I take on two intern students, and I've done this for 5 years. I've been working for them for 5 years, and that's been quite successful. So that would be something that, there is an opportunity out there for students. They'll just have to keep an eye out for when I put it out, or if they're really interested on the back of this, they can email me. I can give you my email afterwards. Hopefully most of the students should have my email, but that's an opportunity that could be coming their way from my end. In terms of actually looking for jobs or looking for opportunities, there are, I think on Twitter, it's called Jobs in Sports Science. They post internships on there, and kind of anything related to sports science goes on there. So that's quite a good place to go for. Or in the UK Sport website as well has a range of jobs, all working within different sporting organisations. They're not necessarily sports science jobs, but they might be more maybe admin type jobs or internships again, kind of volunteering kind of roles, all that sort of thing, really.
Yeah, I think to add to that, some great advice from Luke. When I was at university, I did an internship at QPR, and that was set up through the university, working in their academy there. And I'm sure Jordan will touch more on the opportunities within footballing academies for interns. But myself and a number of my course mates had internships within sports science, strength and conditioning, performance analysis at a number of football academies whilst we were studying. I think I really want to emphasise the importance of having some work experience, whether that's paid or unpaid within sport, especially if that's an area you want to go and work in. The degree is brilliant. The theoretical knowledge that you'll gain is massive, and it's a huge achievement. But the truth is, there are thousands of people up and down this country with the same degree as you. And even when you come out with a first-class degree, what's going to separate you from the others in terms of getting these jobs in elite sport is going to be very much about what have you done extra on top of your course? What are those work experiences that you've gained? And so,
can you explain that a bit? Because I know you've done like SLA something throughout the year. What in your experience, what did you do throughout the year to make you different in a way?
Absolutely, yeah. So I was fortunate to be asked to be an SLA in my second and third years of my undergrad, and that was a great tool for me to also learn more about my course, but also, like you said, to give me some additional experience moving forward. And it's a paid role, so that was fantastic. But yeah, really, that work experience you pick up whilst you're studying for your degree is massive. And so please do take every opportunity that's presented to you, but also seek them out. Nag Luke, he's offered to give you his email them, ask him about these opportunities or websites, or maybe a reference if it's one that he knows somebody who's working there, because these connections will open a huge number of doors for you.
Yeah, just to echo that, we absolutely have opportunities for students. I appreciate we're geographically we're quite a distance away, so it might prove problematic for quite a few people, but getting out and applying your knowledge is absolutely a crucial part of developing as a practitioner. So no doubt at Middlesex, the guys and everyone on the call will be working with some outstanding lecturers and picking up some really sound theoretical knowledge. But ultimately, for me, and the question that Phil posed there around what differentiates you from the hundreds or thousands of other people with similar academic backgrounds is how you then go and deliver that in a practical environment to the people that you're working with. So it's about starting to find a process of all the contextual work and the theoretical work you're doing, and then really having a go at working with some athletes in whatever sport that may be, to start to find your feet and apply it and go through that trial and error process of what works and what doesn't work. So whatever environment that will be, whether it's an elite sporting environment and a professional sporting environment, or a grassroots or local environment, get out there, give it a go, work with athletes, work in loads of different sports, and start building up that bank of experience. I think it's a crucial part of anyone's career development, and something that, personally I still try and pick up on. I'm sure Luke can feel in the same thing. We're always trying to learn and continually get better every day at our roles. So seek them opportunities out and make the most of them, for sure.
I'd actually like to echo that, what Jordan said as well. Working in different sports, everyone kind of has an ideal dream that they're going to work in football, and that's not necessarily always realistic. And there are lots of jobs in football, but they're quite competitive. But building up your experience in the different sports. Myself, I've worked in rugby, I've worked with cricket, I've done some canoeing background, I work in netball at the moment. I've worked with dodgeball. My PhD has been in fencing so far. So having that broad range of sports allows you to also then apply your skills you've learned on your degree that we teach at Middlesex. You can apply it to those different athletes and working with those different teams. And when I took the Mavericks job, I knew nothing about netball really, if I'm totally honest, apart from that there were 7 players on court and the different positions. But you kind of learn from working in those sports, working from those different coaches, those different athletes. And another tip as well, like Jordan said about going locally as well, there are hundreds of sport teams around maybe your local area where you live and around Middlesex campus itself. So going out and actually seeing if they need any sports science support. Have they got athletes that want some advice? That's kind of where I'd sit on that one.
Great, thank you very much. I don't see any questions, so I'm going to ask you another one. What piece of advice would you give to your younger self? One of the main pieces of advice, would you say? You want to start, Phil?
Yeah, sure. Advice for my younger self. It's a difficult one. I'm kind of happy where I got to. I think if I could go back and give some advice to my younger self, it would be to maximize every connection, every contact that you make. You'll meet some amazing people at university that are very, very well connected, and there's always an opportunity to either learn more knowledge, to gain a different perspective on something that you're studying or discussing. And often those connections will open doors for you later down the line, even if you don't think they will. So I think my advice for my younger self would be to maximize the most of those connections, and really follow up with people. Like on the back of today, I can see there's only a few people of you in this call, so you're quite unique in that you're getting this information that other people might not be getting. Follow up with Luke if you're interested in performance analysis or netball. Follow up with Jordan if you're interested in working within football. Follow up with me if there's something you think I can help with. And making the most of those connections and building relationships will help you to progress your career beyond your undergraduate studies.
Thank you. You want to go next, Jordan?
Yeah, absolutely. Tricky question. I think the biggest thing that, if I could go back and have time again, would be to get a really high level mentor who could help shape and guide some of the processes that and some of the learning that I've experienced over the last 12, 13, 14 years in my career. That's the wrong terminology. Definitely was guilty of thinking I was far better than I was early on in my career, and that I'd been to university, had accumulated some knowledge, and then was going to go and apply it, or when it was going to be brilliant, and then realised the realities of that were far different. And that, working in sport is about people. It's about people who are genuinely experiencing a large fluctuation in emotion, from extreme highs when things are going well to extreme lows when things aren't going well. You're dealing with people's livelihoods when there's contracts on the line, whether that's good or bad, and trying to have a process where I understood people better, not just knowledge, would have been the biggest thing that I would change without doubt about my journey so far.
Thank you so much. And lastly, you, Luke, what do you think?
Mine would be kind of get experience while I was studying. So during my undergrad, I didn't really go out there as much as what I could have done to get sort of experience working with those people. And it was kind of in my master's year at Loughborough where I kind of got that experience working with swimming. And actually, as Jordan said, you realise that a lot of it's about your people skills. You have the theoretical knowledge and we give you that in your degree, but making the most of those opportunities in your degree. So, you know, if you're doing a practical session and you're with your friends, for example, actually treat them like they are kind of a professional client and they're paying you to do that job. It's the best way to kind of help you develop those people skills in that situation where, you know, in your practical session, you have that opportunity to fail and to learn. Working in the real world of sport, you know, you're not going to get too many opportunities to fail before, you know, people start asking questions of you. And that would be my thing, just try and get as much experience as you can while you're studying. Be my one.
Great, thank you. I have one question in the chat now. So what should students be doing at the moment during lockdown if they don't find any relevant work straight away? What do you think, Luke?
Oh, sorry, you broke up there. Can you repeat the question for me?
So, yeah. What should students be doing at the moment during lockdown if they don't find any relevant work straight away?
To be honest, I think there is always going to be work out there. You know, do you know any of your family that are trying to maybe take up exercise because of lockdown? Could you use your background knowledge to help them through and to give them some advice? You know, could you be writing blog posts, for example, and get kind of some of your ideas out there on social media accounts? There's other ways you can kind of show who you are and what you're kind of believing in the world of sport. It doesn't necessarily have to be you working with a professional football team. It could be you know, sort of looking at like local teams, you know, anyone in your family, friends that might need any sort of support that way, or like we said, kind of putting yourself out there online.
Thank you. I will also say that you can also use LinkedIn Learning or use anything that you can practice to start getting more and more knowledge. Anything. It doesn't have to be related to actually sports. You can learn how to sell yourself in LinkedIn Learning or any, like, how to build an app, and maybe that app you will have it for you to become, you know, a trainee or something. So that's quite important as well.
Yeah, and actually, sorry, just to add on that one, there's been a lot of learning opportunities in terms of webinars that have been out there in the world of sport. There seems to be a new webinar every week. So looking for those opportunities as well to actually learn from experts in the field, and most of them have been free during lockdown as well. So yeah, like you said, take the opportunities to learn in different ways.
Yeah, I think that's some great advice there from both Clemente and Luke. I think in terms of building things and adding them to your CV, and maybe I'm taking a different perspective on the question in terms of what you can be doing while it's difficult to pick up new positions in this current climate, is absolutely what the guys were saying about continuing to grow and to gain knowledge. There's a huge number of free qualifications available online related to sports science and other areas of business as well. So growing and developing and picking up some qualifications is a great way to go. Luke's advice about starting your own blog post or branching out across different social media channels, whether they be LinkedIn, Twitter's a great place to connect with people that are working in performance sports and to bounce ideas off and engage in direct conversation with them. And you can do all of these things whilst you're still not able to maybe start work in an internship or just start an actual position that you can put down as experience on your CV. You can build something for yourself.
Great, thank you. I don't know if you want to add something on it, Jordan, or do you think it's all covered?
Yeah, no, I think it's a really good point and a good question. Again, it's been a tough time for many industries, as we all know, and sport, of course, is part of that because of the nature of it and the restrictions and limitations that have been in place because of coronavirus. I think it's all about mindset, Clemente. You can either survive or thrive when you hit periods of adversity. So to get through that, if I was to try and keep the advice succinct, would be to come up with a really bespoke development action plan for you as an individual. So think what you want to achieve in the next period of time, whether that be a year, 2 years, 3 years down the line, and then maybe branch off some lines around what you need to learn to get to where you want to go, and then seek out the relevant great advice from both Luke and Phil. Is it a webinar? Is it a course? Is it some informal learning? Seek out all the different opportunities that you need to ultimately make the next step to where you want to go, and just to have the mindset to use the time really productively rather than, sports stop, so I'm going to stop. I think there'll be many people in that bracket, and hopefully people on this call aren't in that. The fact we're all here probably shows that we're not, but use your time wisely, network, speak to people, get out there, just try and access as many different learning opportunities as you can, because there's plenty to get through.
Okay, thank you. One more is, what was the most difficult thing you had to overcome to be where you are now? What do you think, Phil? I'll cover this.
Yeah, I can start. This is always an easy one for me to answer, just because it was such a challenge throughout my life, and that's my hearing. So I wear 2 hearing aids. I mentioned earlier that I played in the deaf football teams for my country. So I was born severely deaf, which means I can hear very, very little. Hearing aids help a little bit, but the challenge for me has always been being able to communicate and understand what's being said when I'm in an environment where there's more than just 1 or 2 people speaking. And that's normally either sport or education. When I'm in school or when I was at university, I found it very, very challenging. And so I had an interpreter whilst I was at university who would sign for me, use sign language, and I was able to access information that way. But as you'll know from studying sports science, there's so much technical jargon, long words that are very, very specific that there just aren't signs for in British Sign Language. And so I had to do a lot of work to gain the same information that my peers did within my cohort. And so I would get the lecture slides were normally uploaded prior to the lecture for me. And I would download those, I'd read over the lecture notes, so I had an idea of the context of what the lecture was going to have. I would then look at my interpreter during the lectures to try and understand as much as I could. I'd review notes from the lectures, and I'd go, if I had any questions at the end, and speak with my lecturer and try and clarify them. And all in all, an hour lecture would probably take me about 3 or 4 hours worth of time just to understand that content. And so overcoming that challenge was a very difficult one because things took a lot longer, but it made it all the more worthwhile, and it made it so much more satisfying when I achieved the grade that I did, because of that challenge that you overcome. And I think every single one of us faces challenges in our lives in one way or another. For some, it's a physical disability. For others, it's a financial situation they're in. For others, they come from a very difficult family background. We all have challenges to overcome, and life isn't about what happens to us, but how we react to that. So yeah, I think my advice on that is to tackle that challenge head on, find a way around it, and don't use it as an excuse for why you can't succeed.
Of course, yeah. But I feel like also that helped you as well, right? It shaped you and it helped you where you are now, that maybe, people don't actually take their time to process all the information like you do. And maybe at the end of the day, you actually know more than anyone else.
Absolutely. I agree with you, but that's through application, right? So there was another student whilst I was at university studying the same course as me who's also deaf, and they ended up not completing their degree. And it was a difference in mindsets, in wanting to make that extra effort to learn that knowledge.
Mm-hmm. You want to add on, Luke?
I guess for me, the biggest challenge has kind of been myself, and my own kind of personality kind of with things, because what I sometimes tend to do is so if something's new to me, I can get quite nervous about that sort of thing. Or when I first was working in sport, you go into like a new team and I'd kind of maybe a bit worried about things that are going to go wrong, but actually using those as a learning experience and kind of doing things that are outside your comfort zone. And through some of the different teams I've worked with, different athletes, lecturing as well, a lot of that goes out of my comfort zone of what I like to do or what my personality would like to do. So kind of learning how to overcome that and still perform and not worry about things going wrong, because inevitably things are potentially going to go wrong, and it's all about how you're going to learn from those sort of situations. And I'm probably, when I first started at Middlesex in October, my lecturing was probably not as good as what it is now, I'd like to think. So kind of learning from peers as well. So if you are going into a job or an internship type role, you're not expected to know everything. You're going to have support mechanisms. Jordan made a great point about mentoring. Can you get a good mentor? I've learned a lot from loads of the staff at Middlesex since I've been there about how to develop my teaching, and really thankful for that opportunity to learn from them.
Great, thank you. And you, Jordan, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge for me was transitioning away from playing. It can be a tough time for a lot of sports people, and the uncertainty that brings. But ultimately, as both the guys have alluded to there, and certainly feel an outstanding example of maximising the next part or the next phase of what it is that you're going to go into. So I'm a real firm believer that with a big growth mindset, big drive, determination, ambition, you really can achieve anything that you want to achieve, even if at the time you might be in an emotional or mental place where that is difficult, if some of the people on the call are going through the same things. And that'll be, I suppose there'll be parallel kind of circumstances, whether you're having a hard time at university, you're not grasping some of the content matter, you maybe haven't had a good result in one of your exams or a test. It's just about having that drive and determination to go again and overcome that. And you will succeed and achieve eventually if you can dig that out yourself, no doubt.
Great, thank you. So this is the last question to sum up everything. For each one of you, what would you like to be in the next 5 years? And how do you think this currently happening, lockdown and everything, is going to affect you in the future? You want to start with it, Jordan?
Yeah, absolutely. So I suppose, like we've alluded to earlier, I think the lockdown period has been one where, as an organisation, we've tried to come out of it in a real positive direction and thrive during that time. So thinking about what we can do rather than what we can't do during remote working, which has been it's been a big learning curve for me, but hopefully something that we've been successful at. And then personally, it's just to be as good as I can in my current role. So I'm still ambitious, and I've got hunger in my belly and some fire and drive to go and be as good as I can be. I think the sporting industry, sometimes opportunity presents itself when you're least expecting it. I'm really happy at the football club I'm at the minute, after spending such a long period of time at a different one. So I'm relatively new in post, just over a year, but just to keep learning, keep developing, and to achieve, be the best version of myself I can to achieve, hopefully what my work rate will deserve. But who knows? We'll see where that takes us.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Luke, you go next.
I guess for me, ideally have developed in my lecturing career at Middlesex and still be part of the lecturing team within 5 years. That's kind of a good area. I'm still quite young in my lecturing career, despite having quite a lot of sport background. So that's kind of where I'd like to be. Hopefully still working in sports somewhere, whether that's netball or a different sport, who knows. In terms of COVID, hopefully at the end of it, I kind of developed myself through, going on things like webinars, making a few new connections out there, it's kind of continually trying to learn through this period. And, hopefully it will have given me some more tools to help with my lecturing as well, with having to maybe move some of the work online and be creative around how we're going to create that excellent student experience that our sports science, sports rehab students will get at Middlesex.
Great, thank you. I just got one question in the group, in the chat. There's a student that studies rehab, but they actually want to work in a physio or in a sport clinic. Where can they find information available for internships or work experience in that area?
I guess in terms of them learning, finding experience, you could speak to the lecturers in sports rehab. They might have links that you can kind of access, or they might be able to point you in a direction. Use the governing body. So we're kind of BASRAT is our governing body that kind of sets out the rules for our course. So see if they've got any opportunities there. Looking for local teams as well. They might have a clinic based at a local team, or contact your local clinic that's nearby. They might be able to give you some experience, even if it's kind of some shadowing and going in and learning from physios. That would be my advice on that. Contact people, go and contact them in person as well. So if there's a physio clinic down the road from you, go in one day and just go, this is really where I want to go. Is there any opportunities that I can come in and work shadow from you, or help out in any way?
Exactly, yeah. I will also add on using LinkedIn a lot. Let's say, for example, now you can get Luke's LinkedIn, you can connect with him, and maybe he knows someone that needs, a physio, and you can then connect and start building your source around that. I don't know if you have any other recommendation for her?
I don't think so. I think Luke's advice was great. Contact your rehab lecturers. They get this question every year, I'm sure, and they'll know exactly where to pinpoint you. They'll also have connections, I imagine, in the local community I know the rugby club was a big one for physio students there in Hendon. But yeah, just reach out to people in areas that you're able to work. If you are living in London, your opportunities are endless. There's a huge number of private clinics, but sports clubs as well. Lots of different places you can gain experience, but just try and reach out to people. The internet is an amazing resource. And aside from contacting your lecturer, use LinkedIn, use Twitter, use these different places, find different physios and sports injury clinics, and make contact with them. Even if they don't have a listing for a position, that doesn't mean that they're unwilling to take anyone on. It's just they maybe not had considered it before.
Great. Well, that's all, I think. Thank you so much. If anyone here has any questions, just drop me an email. I will put this again so you can see. This is the email. And I don't know if any of you, Luke, Jordan, and Phil, are you okay with me giving your emails out or LinkedIn's for people to connect with you? If you are, then just let me know. And then if anyone has any questions, I will just forward them to you. All right, then. Thank you so much to everyone. You can all close the browsers and this will be over. Thank you so much.
Thanks all. Cheers, guys. Take care.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Bye.